Go. You're listening to the PT Pinecast, where smart people in healthcare come to make noise. Here's your host, Jimmy McKay.
Thank you, voice guy. Good morning, healthcare founders, marketers, people who were told to just do more marketing and are still wondering why marketing doesn't work. This is Marketing Doesn't Work, the show where we pressure test what everybody thinks works in healthcare and figure out what actually builds demand. I'm Jimmy McKay, former rock radio DJ turned PT, and here with Andrea Tager, a fractional healthcare marketing leader who brings the how while I bring the all over the place. Some will call it wow. I would call it wow. If we ever get anything done. Let's get into it first. And I don't know if the sharp-eyed people watching my live stream can spot, I do have a Christmas tree. It is currently horizontal on the floor. We're just going to let it go because when your Christmas tree falls over and you're about to do a live stream, you just keep doing the live stream. Andrea, first step, we have to pay the bills. Did I tell you this? Did I text you this? We got a new sponsor.
Oh, amazing. You did not tell me. Who do we have?
On this show, and it's only our second episode. Today's episode brought to you by Patchwork Marketing, the official marketing strategy of We Tried Some Stuff. Need a blog? Sure. Social post? Obviously. Google ads? Why not? New website? Of course. The old one was embarrassing. Patchwork Marketing guarantees maximum activity, minimum clarity. Visit patchworkmarketing.com to download our free guide, 47 things to do before asking if any of this thing works. The problem is I didn't even check. Patchworkmarketing.com is probably an actual website, or if it's not, would be a great thing to buy and then direct it towards your actual marketing website. All right, so story number one. I'm going to introduce this big idea by saying most clinics think their competition is the clinic down the street, the hospital down the street, the anything down the street, across the street. They're like scheming. And it used to be that way. Now, in reality, you're competing with the entire internet.
Exactly.
Attention spans, creators, platforms, algorithms, attention itself. PTs or healthcare people love to say, we're the best kept secret. Yes. And that is the problem. In 2026, your competition isn't other clinics. It's YouTube, TikTok, ChatGPT, Peloton, remote coaches, and anyone with a ring light and some confidence enough to turn the camera on. Andrea, when people hear this, they do two things, fight or flight. They panic or they shut down. And you can see why. Once you realize that the guy down the street isn't the big, hairy, scary, it's everything. Which of these internet competitors should clinics actually worry about, or none of them? And which are just noise? When someone finally realizes this, or you whisper this in their ear and they finally go, oh, what comes next after the whoa?
What comes next? So I think, and their reactions are also, sometimes it's panic. I think it's defensive. And I think, you don't know what you don't know. I think who they should be concerned about, there's a lot of virtual options that are legit. So, anyone can, like you said, put on a ring light, and you reminded me, I forgot to turn mine on today. But anyone can just go live and they're an influencer. I think there's a lot of people without credentials that people are following that maybe they shouldn't be. We're not worried about them. You shouldn't be worried about them. But there are some very reputable organizations that have figured out, wait a minute, we can't be corporate. We have to be the human brand. And so they have influencers either internally or that they work with externally in the organizations that are sort of doing this telehealth. And I think, PT is a good example where I've certainly heard founders talk about telehealth positively, negatively, because something like PT, you have to be there in person, and there's not a replacement for that. And you can certainly speak to that more than I can. So I think you have to be sort of maybe not worried, but curious about all of it, and then figure out, how do I get in on that? So it's not fight against it. It's how do I figure out, like, who are the ones, and how do I become part of that, or how do I create my own thing, right?
Good. So now that you have a who, right? And the who should always be, I always say, who are the people, when I'm talking to PTs or healthcare people, the question can seem overwhelming. I try to sort of reframe it and make it smaller and digestible. And I always like to attach things to emotions. So instead of like, who's your ICP, which to a healthcare person, they will literally like take out a pen and pad and graph and spreadsheets. And I'm like, bring it down, chief. Who, tell me about a person, do not use their real name, but who are you excited when they walk in the door? If you had a tail, it would be wagging. Like, oh my gosh, you have this problem. I love this problem. Think about Dr. Pimple Popper. Someone probably had this conversation with her. It's like, who do you like to walk in? And she's like, oh, if they have a gigantic growth that's been there for 26 years. I'm like, well, that's weird, except to that person with the gigantic growth, she is their godsend. She is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And if someone says, now, if Jimmy were to say that, and Andrea's sitting next to me in a meeting, hey, random healthcare, we'll stay in PT. Hey, physical therapist, who's your ideal? If you had a tail, it'd be wagging when they walk in the door, and they go, everybody. What is, because that happens. What is Andrea's? Okay, reframe.
Right. So if we're selling to everyone, we're selling to no one. So that's
hold on, wait, we say that a lot. What does that mean? Unpack that. Because I think a lot of people have heard that, but maybe they're like, I could recite that, but what's it mean?
So what's it mean? So yes, technically you can, let's stick with PT. You can care for everyone, maybe within some limits. I don't know. Maybe you can't care for everyone, but I think like when we want our business to grow, we go like, yeah, we're going to just try to target everyone so we can have the numbers that we need to have, sort of thing. But to unpack it from a marketing, communications, and then, actually getting the right people in the door standpoint, the right people meaning they're the kind of people we want to treat. They're likely to return. They're likely to tell people how great we are because we are helping them with their specific thing. That's the importance of that is it's everything, right? It's your business. It's continued growth. So when I say, if you're marketing to everyone, you're sort of marketing to no one, is you can't hit on specific pain points if your messaging is like, we do PT, whoever you are, come on in. It's too broad. So you need to get in. I like the different colors that are circling through here for marketing doesn't work. So you need to figure out exactly who you are talking. Are you talking to the young athlete? Are you talking to the, college athlete? Are you talking to seniors? Are you talking to a pediatric, a mom or dad who has a child who doesn't even know where to go, what they need to do, sort of thing?
Now let's talk about two different things. And science people often will just want to lump this all into people. I like to say, give me their demographics, but I also want their psychographic. And they're like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, subjective, objective. And they're like, oh, got it. Because that's the first two parts of a SOAP note. So tell me who they are objectively, do that part, like age, gender, diagnosis, things you can touch, you can test for, like, yes, this person has a birth certificate. They were born at this age. They are this, they are that. Then give me the twist, the psychographic, the subjective. Because you say 62-year-old female, that 62-year-old female might run marathons every other weekend, and that should not be discounted, right?
Right.
And this is where we get into the opposite of I can help everybody. It's niching down. You've seen these posts usually done for clickbait. I don't mind clickbait when it's used for good. Clickbait is a tactic, right? It's a lot of time used for trash. But when you see, have you seen these? Like, it's usually a dude with a beard in a blazer, and he's like, I'm looking for 5 guys in Cincinnati who make over 250, who want to get jacked and get back to you feel like, and you're over 55, but you want to get back to 25. They do, for better or for worse, have understood their demographic, psychographic. They're like, you have money because I'm going to charge you a lot because I only want to work with 5 of you. Yep. You have to have a pain point of being this old and wanting to feel this young. Yep. So like or dislike those, all you want, those are well done. Now, they are. Typically, not all the time. I don't get sued by those.
Sometimes they're not.
Typically, it's throwing trash.
It's the demographic psychographic is important for all the reasons you're saying. There was a meme, and maybe you remember this better than I do, and I'm just picturing it's Ozzy Osbourne. It's like if you're targeting only on demographic, and then I forget who they compared him to. It was like I don't remember exactly who it was. Yeah. And it's like, this is what you get if you're targeting based only on demographic. Like, yes, they are the same age and there's some other similarities, but they are vastly different interests. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people are missing. And that's why we need psychographics.
And here's why. Because I don't care what medium you're using, video, text, image. That's the bait with the hook in a good way. Again, clickbait bad, but the tactics can be used for good. If you're writing or creating or recording for that person you're picturing, but you're making it for everybody, Dude, I call this is just the wording I use, and I use it in meetings. I go, that's mayonnaise flavors ice cream. No one's taking a bite. I love ice cream. I deal with mayonnaise. It needs to be in some stuff, but no one's going out of their way for that. You need to create the flavor of ice cream that is undeniable for that person who excites you. If you had a tail to be wagging when they walk in the door. And I think a lot of people miss in healthcare, and I will come to their defense first, and then I will hang them out to dry. First, you probably didn't sit in a class and you weren't taught this.
Right. No.
You're trying, you're trying.
You're trying.
And you're trying to copy, and you're putting your own flavor on it. And now here's where I hang them out to dry. That flavor is mayonnaise flavored ice cream, and you don't copy because you would tell people, well, cookie cutter treatments are bad. Well, then I would say cookie cutter marketing is bad.
Right.
Because you didn't understand how you got there. Show your work. Why did Jimmy record a video yesterday on his off day? Did you see my Instagram post, my reel?
I did not. I was not on the socials yesterday.
Good, even better. I was on my Peloton, and the instructor said something which caused me to have an idea, which caused me to write it down while I was sweating, and then I did the reel later, and it was, if Avengers were physical therapists, what type? So I was like, well, obviously ortho PT, Captain America, like reliable, down the middle, right? Sports PT, Iron Man, a little bit egotistical. And then I went through all like that. Now, why did I do that? Because I know the demographic and psychographic of all PTs. But Jimmy, you just said, don't make it for everybody. I sprinkled a little bit of something for each, 5 different PTs in one video. So there was, well, did he include me? And of course, out of 5, there's a lot more types of PTs. No, I didn't include you. Subscribe so you don't miss the second video, which I dropped this morning, and did 5 more. So that was me working backwards. Stephen Covey wrote a really important book called 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Yep.
Habit 2, start with the end in mind. When you hear that, where's your head go?
Well, that's right on. And I think you're talking about mayonnaise flavored ice cream. That's the wow. You know, the way I talk about it is it's diluted. Diluted at best, mayonnaise flavored at worst. But I think if you're starting with the end, then you know all of the flavors, and you can sprinkle all of those flavors in where it makes sense. So I think what you did all in one video, that makes perfect sense, or in 2 videos. I think this is why we talk about segmentation. So we can have one flavor in this medium because we know like our 65 plus are on Facebook or something. That's like the easiest example. So we're talking and looking one way when we're on maybe that medium. And then if we're doing something else, we're talking and, you know, looking a little bit different while being authentic to the brand.
Yeah. Where do people confuse being visible with being credible? We see this a lot. Well, look at these videos. A couple years ago, it was dance videos, and people were like, I guess I have to dance if I want attention. And I quite literally was like, I don't dance. Like, I hate dancing. I like going to events, but Jimmy doesn't dance. Why? Because I don't like it.
Right.
And then it moved, which meant you never had to actually dance. It's just so you got all the views. But what was it doing for you? You got visible. What was it doing for you? So how do people in healthcare marketing, CEOs, founders, down to single providers, how and why do they confuse visibility and credibility?
Well, so visibility is anyone can be visible, but not everyone can be credible. And that is like very simple and basic to understand. But I think it's really important to keep in mind when you're going like, oh, we got to go jump on this trend and do this thing, right? Like, or even going back to your earlier question about who should they be worried about? You shouldn't be worried about all of the influencers because they're not all credible influencers. I'm going to be careful if I'm taking medical advice from someone on Instagram or TikTok, right? Like, so I think anyone can be visible, not anyone can be credible. And I think where founders can, in healthcare specifically, can lean into their credibility. We have the credibility. Let's figure out now how to get the visibility. And I think that's, tricky, right? So that's why they bring experts in to do that.
One is quick. One is transactional.
Yep.
I guess it could be called cheap. I don't think it's easy to get 1 million views. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. But the question is, what are you going to do with those 1 million views? I mean, I was talking to a clinic owner the other day. He's like, we do well on social. And then I'm literally in the live call and I'm scrolling through his Instagram and I go, have you audited who's following you? And he's like, no, how would I do that? I was like, well, like, just like it said, audit. So I'm scrolling through, and I'm not going to click into every profile. So I'm sort of scanning, and then I cheat. Of course, I copy all and put it in ChatGPT, and I go, based on these people's profiles alone, are they? I can't figure out where they are demographic, like physically. Where's the demographic? Where they live? Can't. That's take too much time. But I said, based on their profile alone, are they a clinician or potential client? And it was like 60% clinician. And I was like, so you're making content that you think your colleagues would agree with. That's a different channel. This one's not going to make you any money getting people through the door that if you had a tail, they'd be wagging. So you have visibility, but the visibility is for the wrong audience. So you have credibility for colleagues, but no visibility for clients.
And you have to marry the two. And so I've done this exercise with a few clients. So a few founders. So for a few founders that I've worked with, and I've done some of their ghostwriting thought leadership in various spaces. I did that exact exercise. I said, let's take a look at your LinkedIn followers by title, drop it into AI, and you're going to tell me buckets of who is following me. One, are they the people we want following us? These are our segments. These are who we're targeting. We're targeting these people to grow our business, from like a prospect perspective. We're targeting these people to hire. And let's see what that makeup is. And then we can figure out who we're talking to and how to talk to them. And then, oh, by the way, we're totally missing this segment. So let's figure out a strategy to actually get those people to pay attention to us and to follow us. And when you have visibility, you're exactly right. Like, what are you doing with it? It's not going to translate into a growing bit. It feels good. A great example. I checked this morning. I had a LinkedIn post reach 55,000 people and have over 100 engagements on one LinkedIn post. I think that's probably my best performing post. It feels good. I'm like, hey, look at that. All of these eyeballs, people are agreeing with me. Maybe some people are not agreeing. Feels good. Yeah. It's great. I figured out somehow to get LinkedIn to pay attention to this one post. I scrolled through. Sure, there were some prospective clients on there. By and large, it was marketing folks who were agreeing with what I was saying. So I have the credibility, which is great. And that is one piece of it. The next piece is I'm not going to go, hey, I got 55,000 views and 100 engagements. That means I should see my business skyrocket next month. I'll work with those numbers to figure out sort of what to do with it. But that's the visibility, not necessarily with the audience that I'm looking to have it with.
Yeah. It means you had a formula. Can you take something that you learned from that post, how it was structured, like quite literally, like what was the first line? Was there an image? Was it a video? Take what you can from that and go, because humans are humany. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Andrea and I say this a lot. Like, you could have the perfect strategy and you put it in the world and it flops. And you're like, why? Humans are humany. Platforms are platformy. The world is chaos, right? Or you offhanded, like before you wrote that, were you like, yeah, this is
I'll tell you what I did, Jimmy. So it's exactly what you're saying. I used the same structure, the same format as my last best performing post. And I said this I looked back through the last 2 weeks and I go, which performed the best? And there was one that stood out with impressions and engagement. And I go, what exactly did I talk about? Let me use that same format and the same subject. And it both sort of started with like, you're spending X amount of dollars on marketing.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Right. So there's one, I think it was like 150 or 175K or something. This one was like, you're spending 350K a year on marketing. And then it goes through like how you're breaking that up.
Because you're talking to different people. If I'm spending $25,000 on marketing, I'm probably not slowing down there. But if I am spending $325, I'm going, hang on a second. How'd you know that?
Exactly. And that is, and marketers were largely those engaging because they've all been in the seat where we're going, hey guys, we're spending a lot of money. Let's stop. Are we doing the right things and tying it back? And the goal is ultimately to get that message to founders to go, if you're spending this much money on marketing, you're not necessarily able to tie it to outcomes. Like, something needs to change, right? Or you're throwing money away. It's not an investment.
My former boss, shout out to Chris Lloyd, was my program director. So program director was the thing Jimmy always wanted to be. I always wanted to be on the radio. And then when I got there, of course, the metric changes. Now I want to be like the guy in charge of a radio station. And I lucked out that I worked for a lot of really good, smart, honest, did the work the right way, because it lasts, like substance, not flash, but maybe a little bit of flash with the substance. And Chris Lloyd was one of them. And he called these things beauty pageant metrics. So I'll give you an example. Here's we talk about formats and goals. Top 40 radio. The goal was find the popular 40 songs and quite literally play them. And when you're done and you hit 40, you play number 1 again.
Right.
So what you want is, it was always easier to talk about like a store or a bar or restaurant. All right. Top 40 wants people to come into their store often. They sort of don't care how long they stay because like, we're going to beat the hell out of this song. Like you're going to be sick of us, but then you're going to go away. Then you're going to come back. We want you to go away, come back, go away, come back. Right. So their cumulative audience was high. Like how many different people came in one time or multiple times? That was high.
Right.
Their TSL, time spent listening, time spent watching a video, time spent in your restaurant, was short. They'd come in, listen for 3 songs and like, okay, I got my sugar fix, but I'm out. It's too sweet. Like, give me something new. Flip it to where I was, which was rock radio. We wanted as many people as we could, but we wanted that time spent listening longer because an advertiser would say, if I run ads 3 times a day on your radio station, how many are going to get heard? That's why when digital billboards came out, I was like, they're like, it's cheaper. I go, yeah, but I'm getting 1/5
right
the exposure. So why am I paying the same price for 1/5? Well, you don't have to pay for the print cost. And I go, I have no problem with that if I'm getting the visibility.
Right.
That was my problem with that. So I was like, the cost staying the same. So beauty pageant metrics are, listen to how many people, look at how many people listen to us. Look how many views you got. Are they the right people for the right reason for the right amount of time? And if the answer is yes, no, no, not good. It's got to be yes. Like you can't just have beauty pageant metrics. Looks great, doesn't do much off stage. So keep that in mind. Yes, I know your clinic is doing the dance trend. What's that saying about you? This is the last thing I'll say before I let Andrea talk again, because I realize I'm talking for a long time. There is an Instagram account called Bullshit Physio or Bullshit Rehab. I'll put it in the comments. Oh. And it's this crotchety old dude. And I love this guy. Because what he does like the videos where he's on camera, but then there's like, he's like a green screen and he's showing like other posts behind. And he's showing like PTs doing these like dance trends or whatever. But here's the thing. If that's who you're trying to attract, good. But it's not. He's like, and he's in spinal cord. So like, that's a specific type of rehab. And he's like, imagine having a spinal cord injury and like being nervous to like put your body or your kid or adult, parent's body in this care. And they're over there doing like stupid douchey dances. And if that's the case, like, he's just like, yeah, no wonder no one takes us seriously. Now, his audience are other PTs. It's different than business to consumer.
Correct. Exactly.
Understanding who your audience is has to be. I know Simon Sinek says start with why. I think you and I both agree it's start with who. Once you get to why, things start to pop.
That is. And I think this start with why, just quick aside, is I think, you should always be grounded in your own why as an organization. Right. Why are we doing this? Why are we collectively pulling together? What is our why? But when you're looking at what you're doing externally, you need to know who you're talking to before you can, because then once you know the who, then you can figure out their why.
Oh, it's so much easier.
You can't figure out their, I mean, I guess if you're sort of thinking generally, you go, why? Oh, people are going to come to me because they need PT. Yeah. Who's they? What's the PT that they need, right? Like, so, and I know, like, having been in the PT space, I know that like it's very different. If I'm a mom looking for a physical therapist for my child, I'm looking for a very specific thing, and you better be speaking to me, right? And if I'm an athlete, I'm totally different.
I was talking to a person the other day who had an app or a product that was designed for people with stroke. And I was like, so as a marketer, sometimes you have to actually be able to like delete preconceived and assumptions. Like it's hard. It's called the curse of knowledge, especially as a PT. I come into it talking to other PTs and I'm like, well, we're PTs, so we know the same thing. I'm like, no, we don't. Like, no, I can't assume that I know what you know and vice versa. Yep. And I remember like one of the first questions was like, who do you need more of at your website? And he's like, people with stroke. And I was like, oh, my friend, people with stroke are not Googling things. Well, I shouldn't say any of them, but I was like, the person you just described, severely hemiparetic, aphasia, cognitive issues, my friend, they're not making the decision. And he was like you saw the light bulb go, what? And I was like, you need to talk to me. My dad had a stroke. you're talking to me about my dad. That's a different pain point. And literally the guy's eyes were like, oh, expletive. I think we've been saying the wrong things. I'm like, that's why you're here with me.
It's exactly. I had a client a couple of years ago who, and I won't say the industry, it was within healthcare. And they sort of came in going, we're talking to who ultimately would have been the end user patient. And after like having a conversation and going, wait, I'm not an expert in your sub industry of healthcare, but I think we're going down the wrong path. I think it's actually the adult child
Correct.
of the senior. And we validated, and that's what it was. And you are talking very, very different, like the messaging, the visuals, the media, like you name it, right? Like they are two completely different things if you're talking to an adult child versus a senior.
Very different. Is it Dinah Shore or one? I can't remember who the like commentator who now does a thing called A Place for Mom.
Yes,
it's like aplaceformom.com. And 20 years ago, I remember looking at that, like the cheesy commercials and not understanding it until my parents got older. And then it was the message has not changed from A Place for Mom. Because you're like, what do I need? A place for mom. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, we have you. But they're talking to that adult child of the person. They deeply understand that demographic and psychographic.
It's exactly.
You have all the budget you want, which is, I think about one of your posts, and you're firing at the wrong audience, you will blow a lot of money. And then you will look deep into the camera and you will say, marketing doesn't.
Right. And I've worked with 2 senior home care clients now at this point. And that's exactly right. Like it has been validated. You are speaking to, and just like any other, figuring out who your persona is, they have very specific emotional pain points, and you need to solve for that. Within healthcare, it's always an emotion. This is why I got into not selling widgets, right? Like people have asked me, like, why do you love healthcare as a marketer? Because I want to help promote for people to be healthy and well. I don't want to sell widgets, and there's nothing wrong with promoting widgets. It's just I like to marry sort of professional and personal. And that's, people are making emotional decisions. I've worked in the urgent care space. You're bringing your child who's sick or broke a bone or has something going on. Working in the senior care space as a child, you're going, I need to navigate this. I have no idea where to begin. I'm feeling all of these feelings. My parents are feeling feelings about loss of independence. I mean, you really need to be getting into the mind of where they are.
People get very, very myopic when it's an emergency. That's why things like the things to push on emergency exits are huge and gigantic, and you cannot miss it.
Right.
People will panic. Andrea, do you know what the worst thing to do in a panic situation is? This is from my dad, who was a New York City firefighter. He asked me this once when I was like 11 driving in a car.
Is this a real question, or is this a trick? I don't know.
No, it's like a trick. He was like, I'm 11 years old. He goes, what's the worst thing to do in a panic situation? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, panic.
Right.
And then he was like, I was like, well, that's a douchey dad joke. And he's like,
but it's
because he said it's a panic situation. Your reaction should not be panic. And that's a marketer. But keep in mind what you just said. In urgent care, it's 3:00 in the morning.
Yep.
My kid has 106 fever.
Yep.
Is this emergency room? Like, help me make the two. I know I need to do something. Like, it's why it's in case of fire, break glass. Like fire, glass. Got it.
Yep.
Like,
and
there's your marketing.
I'll tell you, a popular piece of content with our mom persona in the urgent care space was literally a graphic, urgent or emergent. Because if I'm a mom going, my child has a high fever, or they were just stung by something, or they fell and it looks like it's something, I'm going, what am I doing? Do I need to run to an emergency room? Can I go to an urgent care? Do I call the doctor? Do I call the nurse line? Like, what am I doing? And it was a very popular piece of content, and it was simple. It was super simple.
But hold on a second. Yes, agreed. But think about those two words if you're the average person. Urgent care and emergency department. I'm like, okay, yes, those two are different. And so what I would do is, the persona I would bring in for the best advice? My cousin Colette, who was an emergency room nurse in Brooklyn, has done like essentially every nurse job. She's an NP now, and she does whatever she wants because she figures out what needs to be done. She's the person who will, and I love her, I'm not saying anything I don't think she'd mind. She'd be like, these people come to the emergency room when they should be going to urgent care. And I'm going, Colette, but like, I have a degree in PT. I don't know that I would make the right decision. Because then you've also said this person had a broken whatever and they just went to urgent care where they should have. I'm like, you have to understand that person, Colette, I need you. They're not as smart as you.
Right. It's like I like to say, you guys do this every day,
Day.
and I say that as a consumer. If I have a bad experience, I gently remind the person on the other end, I'm sorry, I can tell you're losing your patience with my questions or ignorance. I don't do this every day. You do this every day. Right. And we were really fortunate in the urgent care space that we were founded and staffed by former emergency room physicians. And so I would go to them and just like soak up as much content as I could. They were the ones. I'm not the one. Right. And I would take that and spin it and go, who am I speaking to? Where are they? Let me take what you just said and then translate that for them.
That, would be a great piece of content. Those things where people ask a question and then stand on one side of the video. Like there's like emergency room, urgent care. And you're like fever of 102. And you're like, urgent care, like
such a great
bleeding that it hasn't stopped for more than 15 minutes, like whoop, 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 emergency or whatever's closer, like whatever. But it's like good to see it's not just the answer, because the answer doesn't stick. You need to start creating reasoning patterns in people who don't face these every day. My dad would always say, when the bell in the firehouse would ring, it means someone has already tried some things, because you don't. Usually there are some people who call the fire department for everything, but most people are like, I only want to push that button because I don't want to get in trouble.
Right. I don't want to bother them.
But then my dad would say they should just call us in the first place. This wouldn't have burned 3 floors in a building in the Bronx. And I'm like, but they don't know.
They don't know
until it hits like, hey, our Christmas tree's on fire. Like, do I get a extinguisher or do I immediately call 911? Like,
right.
I'm probably going to try to fight it myself because now I'm embarrassed. Like choking. My dad was in a steakhouse 30 years ago. And this is a New York City fireman since he was, 20 something. Dude was used to scary situations. Starts choking on a piece of steak. Do you know what his first reaction was to do? Go to the bathroom alone. Because he's like, I was immediately embarrassed. He said, I got up from the table, was having dinner with another fireman and the other fireman's wife. He said, I would have been dead unless the other guy looked at my face and was like, I've seen that face before. You're not going anywhere. And he gave him the Heimlich in the middle of the restaurant. And then he goes back to work the next day and goes, we're doing drill. We're doing Heimlich maneuver. And one of the guys there was like, that's a little basic. And he's like, I almost died yesterday. And he's like, I've been doing this for 25 years. And I fell for the trap.
And so that's the importance of the constant education. So when I have a client who's like, we don't need that kind of content, we do, right? So we're not going to, and this is where it gets into like, you need to understand the outcome, but you also have to understand not every piece of content you're going to be able to track back to go, that's the thing that drove it. But it's really important that you are educating people on the thing that you are providing repeatedly, basics.
In radio terms, it would be right now at halfway through the show, me saying, welcome to Marketing Doesn't Work with Andrea and Jimmy, who have, combined 70, 30.
A lot of years, 20, 40.
I mean, I've been doing this since I was technically, if you really want to, I started doing the morning announcements in 6th grade in middle school, and I made them a radio show. Like what I did was I read the cards in 6th grade at 11. And then I was like, what if I put something funny in between this card and that card? And I did it with a window to the office, with the principal's office. And the women in the front office would giggle. And I was like, ooh, if you can make an adult giggle, that's like next level. And then I just slowly progressed. That's what marketing is. So the only thing I would add to that is, I know you've been marketing this message for 400 million weeks. Someone is finding you for the first time today. And the person who's been listening for 400 weeks still needs to be reminded of what your basics is. Sports Center still says we are top 10 plays once a day, every day for 1 billion years. We do top plays. We cover all sports. You don't fall to the curse of knowledge. Tony Maritato checking in live. He's a guy who understands this and was not trained in this. He figured it out and got real good at it. I'll say this. Here's a good example that I was actually going to bring up on our live stream with Tony the other day, which we do Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 Eastern, called PT Breakfast Club. See how I just slid that in there, Andrea? That's just smooth. That's years. I wanted to talk about this, and Tony, maybe we will. I think it's brilliant. When your client says we need 50 different types of content, I just say, will it blend? And they go, what? Like a blend of marketing mix? I go, no, quite literally. There is a company called Blend Tech, and they do very little marketing. Have you seen this channel before, Andrea?
I have not, no.
They have a blender. Andrea, you're going to be the consumer. What kind of blender, Jimmy? They have a blender.
What kind of blender, Jimmy?
This will blend anything. Really though? Anything?
Like anything?
Anything. So the question is on their YouTube channel is, will the new iPhone 12 blend?
Oh, wow.
Will car key fobs? I saw a dozen golf balls. Will Amazon Echo blend? And they are quite literally, a guy in a lab coat is putting an Amazon Echo into the Blend Tech blender. Like, look, he's got safety goggles on, and he's like, look, there's a handful of Crayola makeup markers.
My kids would love this, by the way.
This is a ridiculous, nonsensical channel. And then wait till I scroll down to this.
How many eyeballs?
7 years ago, 636,000 views. They have 838 subscribers. Do all of them need blenders right now, Andrea?
No, they don't.
But when I go to buy a new blender, I want one that doesn't break.
Exactly.
I'm not blending golf balls, but I do want to make a smoothie or a frozen drink by the pool. So I'm gonna put.
And I don't want it to get jammed up.
And I know a blender is a transaction because it's like I'm gonna buy one every year because the motor's gonna. They don't make them like they used to, and the motor's gonna whatever. It's not gonna blend. Blend Tech is literally like expletive that. Will it blend? And then so the whole channel is called Will It Blend, and you're like, I've got to see. Well, 12 golf balls. There's no way it's going to go to their channel right now, look up golf balls. And the answer is, I'm not going to tell you. But do you think they would have done it unless they tested it out? Of course.
Right.
They can tell you they have the strongest blender knives, whatever the thing at the bottom of a blender, and the biggest torque and the most miles.
They didn't tell me about their features. They showed me. So 2 things. This reminds me, going back to like infomercial days, Ginsu knives.
Oh, I remember those. They cut up.
They were cutting through like metal, and it's right. It's like if it can cut through metal, it can cut through steak or whatever it is. But the other thing you said, I'm not in the market for a blender right now. And this goes back to what we were talking about in our last episode about customer journey and why I don't subscribe to top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. Yes, if we need to bucket things, we will, but not everyone's on the same journey. You need to understand what journeys people are on, but I may be looking at blenders, for example, for months. And then I'm going to go, oh, I need a blender. Right? Like someone may have an impulse purchase where they go, oh, my blender just broke yesterday. Whatever. So that's why we need to be consistently pushing out content.
Yes.
The right
and
content.
It's got to speak to that person. Do you want like an extreme example? Extreme examples are sometimes cute, but like not always helpful. But this is a big one. Yeah, the Ginsu knife would cut a can. Then it would like slice a tomato like paper.
Yes.
And you're like, I could tell you all day that it could do, but my favorite day in 3rd grade was show and tell because of the show.
Right.
We told people all day. When I told people I had a new scooter or whatever it was, that's cool, but check this out. You can do that without having the scooter though. You got to show them though. That's where a story comes into it. What was I just going to talk about? Oh, if the goal was, we're talking about beauty pageant metrics, visibility versus credibility. You could get more views advertising on the Super Bowl than you could in F1 racing, right? At one for pound for pound, inch for inch, right? Because the Super Bowl is once a year, so it's a spectacle. You could probably, and I think we could fact check this. I'm going to guess Super Bowl trumps just a little bit Wimbledon. They're both big. But F1 and Wimbledon have different audiences. So exactly. Rolex will not sponsor the World Series or Super Bowl or any of those things. And they could get more views by doing the entire NFL. They could own, for what they spend on Wimbledon or F1, they could own the entire NFL.
Complete
but the person that's going to buy a Rolex, they might be there, but they're more likely to be watching. And what they also say is, dude, we're not Timex. We're not takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
No.
We're Rolex. You buy this because this is a timepiece.
Exactly.
So you're saying something about your brand simply by where you put it and where you do not
where you do not. And you're exactly right. And the vanity metrics, those beauty pageant, as you say, metrics, you could get all of the eyeballs in the world. But if they're, if it's like 30% of your audience versus 70, and you just spend all of this money and now you're showing the 70%, you're diluting your brand potentially, depending on who's looking at it.
But Andrea, if you're sitting there in the C-suite and you're the marketing chair and you're looking at your bosses going, how do we do? And you're like, views are down this quarter. You have to immediately go, that's good. I told this story before. I was working for a healthcare organization and we changed, we're hiring, or what do we say? Apply for a job. And I changed it to we're taking commitments. And the number of total commitments, job applications, same thing. I didn't razzle dazzle the what.
Right.
I razzle dazzled the whatever, the message. The number went down. But number of qualified applicants, commitments, our batting average was higher. They did it. 6 months later, they changed it back. Why? It emotionally didn't feel well for the hiring team. And we had money, and we had metrics to prove it.
It's so common, Jimmy, the story. I mean, it's the same sort of psychology around like get on the exclusive wait list or something, right? It's like, but the commitment, like that's such a strong, you're like, wait a minute, I want to commit to this. I'm the type of person
but
that
if you're not going to be committed, I don't even want you to bother my hiring team's time.
Exactly. And that sends a signal.
I stole this from, I won't even tell you where I stole it from. I'll give you a hint. I stole it from one of the 4 branches of the military. Which one did I steal it from? Which one's the elite? Which is the one that doesn't want you? It's the Marines. The few.
The Marines, right. The few that I was like, thank you. I was thinking of that and I was totally blanking on Marines. Yes,
I know
exactly.
The Marines Fight Club people. They're like, well, I want to do whatever. And they're like, nah, you're not, I don't think you're good enough. That's
you hear Marines and you immediately have an association with what that means.
The right people are like, why can't I come in? Like, you want that person. Screw demographic. You want that psychographic. Why? Because that's the guy you want next. That the Marines are like, that's who we want. And you guys can have the rest. It's just amazing to me that it's so obvious and the other 3 branches don't do it. Because you don't want those people in the military at all. Or maybe you do need to fill numbers because maybe that's their, maybe you'd have to. But what story are you telling? All right.
Yes.
I didn't think we'd talk about this for that long.
It's good stuff.
Which means, all right, let's tee off the second story or the second topic I want to do. I did a post and then a video. Videos for me have been performing not well at all on LinkedIn. I feel like LinkedIn has now made a big shift.
They've changed the algorithm. They've changed back. They go like, oh, wait a minute, videos, TikTok. And then they were like, ooh, pulled it right back.
So I pulled back and I'm not doing real. I mean, I'm trying it just to keep poking the bear, but it's not doing anything. So I actually stopped doing it. Why? Well, why not just share it there, Jimmy? Because I think it might negatively affect me. So I'll wait until the needle comes back. But I am into strong hook, then deep thought, show my work posts. Yes. And I did one that says this: healthcare loves to argue about cost, access, and staffing. They're all valid. But underneath all of it is one problem everybody looks at like a turd on the carpet at Christmas dinner. Everyone's looking at it going, I don't want to touch it. Who's going to touch it? It's not my problem to solve. I was given great advice long ago. The definition of innovation in anything is finding a problem no one wants to solve, making that your problem. And then by definition, you're innovative. It doesn't need to be technological or with lasers or with AI. Simply solving a problem.
The most basic thing, solve it and do it well.
So here's the thing I think is lying. It's a bigger problem and it's deeper than cost, access, and staffing. And I will die on this hill. And I think the answer is friction. Here's what I mean. Post. Every no-show, ghosted referral, patient who fell off the plan, every burned out clinician, the same root cause. Friction to schedule, friction to understand, friction to follow up, friction to stay bought in. And I'm sitting here going, now I'm going to parallel this with something the audience can see. Because they're going to go, I can hear them already as they're reading or watching the video. Well, actually, Jimmy, it's a little more complicated than that. I will come through this phone and what's actually slap you. Because the answer is friction. Could you imagine, Andrea, you're the CEO of a little company called Netflix. And when I sign up, not even sure how to sign up because you're going to ask me for 42 pieces of information. And then I've got to get on a wait list to maybe push play. in 2 weeks, how many people do you think would stick around? And this was 0. And listen, Netflix understood it. Their original business model had a ton of friction in it. It was less friction than their predecessors. I'd have to go to the store, and then I go to the store, but that movie's out. Kids, Netflix started with DVDs.
I did a case. So we, in grad school, I did a case study on Netflix and their origin and where they should sort of go to. And that's what they started with. And I don't know that this generation, the younger generation,
this generation might not know what a DVD is. I mean, or a CD. So anyway,
I love telling my young kids about these things.
You had to wait for a physical copy of the movie to then put into a player and play, instead of scroll and play. But they went to where the puck was going. But could you imagine now trying to compete and you've got to sign up for 2 weeks? Now that might work if you're like Bergdorf Goodman and like you have to get into the club before you can.
But again, that's their audience. It's a premium offer. Like it's the Rolex thing, right?
So where do you think friction lives in healthcare? I don't care if it's urgent care, PT, like just say the quiet things out loud.
I am so glad you asked, Jimmy. This is a horse that I have beat for many, many, many years. And I know you, I think, started or prefaced by saying like access is on that list. That's not really but I'm going to define it. So for me, I have continued to say across different types of clients within healthcare for many years, friction is a problem. If people can't easily access you, so if they can't easily find you, easily access you, that is friction, and we are going to lose them. Or we're spending a tremendous amount of money to push them through, money and effort, and that doesn't feel good for the prospective patient. That doesn't feel good for the people who are working there. So, let's very simple example. There are still healthcare organizations that do not allow you to schedule online. Mind blowing. And I have sat in boardrooms, Jimmy. I have sat in boardrooms and I've talked about, we are not a healthcare company or competing against healthcare companies. We are competing against the consumer experience. And I did a talk on this at a healthcare communicators conference a few years ago. We have to think about ourselves as one more thing to do on a person's list on their phone. I can very easily schedule my groceries to be delivered. I can easily schedule my groceries to be picked up, whatever it may be. But Andrea, we are not groceries. Cool. But when you are in a specialty healthcare, especially when there are other competitors, and I can easily go on their website and go, I want to see you next Tuesday at 2:00, check, done, add to calendar. And you're making me either fill out a form to request and wait to hear back 48 hours later, or probably not hear back because no one checks their inbox when you're filling out an online contact, or I have to get on the phone with you, or
wait, stop. What was that word you just said?
Phone. I'm not getting on the phone.
Call you?
You want me to call you? So
that's insane.
So let's play this out. Like, we talk about the younger generation not wanting to make a phone call. I don't want to make a phone call. And I'm not the younger generation.
Hold on. I will make a phone call if it is absolutely necessary. But if I can book an appointment with my barber and not to call, it's not that I don't want to call. It's that I understand that easier ways exist, and I'm confused at why you're making me do a harder thing.
Exactly.
20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't know. I'm not good with time, but like phone was not the option. Then all of a sudden it became the option. You're like, you mean I don't have to go down and then put my name on a list and that was easier. But now that the easier thing exists, you cannot ask them to go back. I'm sorry.
You can't. And I think it's not being lazy. So I think there's this, it's smart. Really just, it's smart. And, especially if your target demographic or your target persona, I go back to a lot in health, like women are the healthcare decision makers. So a lot of companies I've worked with, I'm targeting moms. I'm very busy. I have a million, you sort of think about this week, it's Spirit Week, it's Christmas week, it's bring teacher gifts, bake this for all these. I'm sitting at a stop sign or a red light and I'm going, oh shoot, I needed to do that thing. I pick up my phone and I do the thing and then it's done. I'm not going to get on the phone.
And then juggle schedules.
And I'm looking at my calendar and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yep. Let me get you a snack.
You need a slide rule, and I don't even know what a slide rule is. I know it was just used in Bugs Bunny cartoons to signify way overcomplicated.
Way overcomplicated. And so that is friction. And that's also an access problem. So if I cannot very easily schedule an appointment with you, that friction has now caused me to not have the access. If I need to reschedule, like, this is why this is not a marketing problem.
I was just going to go there. Keep going. I think it is, but hold on, keep going.
Exactly. So this is a multifunction. Like, I get at the table with operations, with customer success, with client, whatever you want to call, and that's who needs to be at the table, because I'm going, wait a minute, I'm spending a lot of money to get a prospect here. I get their attention. I tell them what we do. I get them excited. And then I get them here, and then it goes drop.
I promised them something, and you are not delivering on the promise that I made, and that is why they don't do anything. They don't.
And here's two. And we've now failed this prospective patient who needs care, and you've also failed the organization. Flash across, marketing doesn't work. But wait, marketing does work. You broke the customer experience for me. And so I have sat at many tables and I've beat that horse, Jimmy, about, and that's just one example. Online scheduling. Please let
engineers would call this, and I loved hanging out with engineers because I was like, you guys are way too smart for that, but I like peeking in. And they would call it, like, we would be designing something in the radio station, or not me. I mean, I would just tell them what I want, then they would work backwards. And I'm like, it's not working. Like, we're not there yet. And I'm like, how do you know where to look? And they just go, we look for points of failure. And I was like, well, yeah, but what is that? And he's like, anywhere it goes from a thing that I know is working to another thing that I know is working, it's the space between. So you said, this isn't a marketing problem. This is an ops thing. I'm like, but that's where the handoff from marketing to ops goes. And that is a divide.
Because it's like this. It needs to be like this. And I'll tell you, it's the point of failure. My friends and family don't love this about me, but it's an occupational hazard. I look for what could go wrong, right? And in marketing, you need to do that. And a lot of times, the fix to what could go wrong is not a marketing solution.
Right.
It's an operational solution. And that's why you need to be at the table, and there needs to be clarity, because marketing isn't just creating pretty pictures and getting the word out. It's then what happens. Like, I worked in an organization where patient experience had a dotted line to me as the marketing leader, because if I got you this far and then it was a really poor, like, there was they weren't scripted on what to say when they answered the phone, or there wasn't an easy intake experience. The worst thing, Jimmy, and I know you've probably experienced as well. I do make an appointment. I fill out information online. I get in, and then you hand me a clipboard with 7 printouts that I need to fill out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to fill out 7 pages.
2025,
right?
6 in a week and a half.
And then what are you doing with this? Where's my information going? And why are you asking me again? Like, give me a portal. I will fill it out online.
And make it so I can log in with my Gmail, because there's no possible way I'm going to remember your random login and password after 20 minutes. But then the IT person yelling at me, don't use the same password across platforms. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay.
Exactly. And
yes, I understand why, but that's dumb.
And it's dumb. And so that's the front end friction. And then you think about the back end friction. Again, have worked across a number of healthcare organizations. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say something else, right? So on the back end, there is a tremendous amount of friction with, so I can't tell you how many times I couldn't have a CRM, but I had to work within an EMR.
Right.
Hey, where do all of our content? Oh yeah, just go in the I don't want to go in the EMR. I am not a clinical person. I should not be touching that information, but that's how it's built. Well, the EMR doesn't integrate with HubSpot because, okay. So then our internal friction becomes an external experience problem.
Yes.
Because now we're going, fill this out. Oh, wait, I've worked at more than one place where I go, where can I see who opted in for email? Pretty simple question. Oh, well, we ask them that in the email. Oh, but then they have a different platform for text and a different platform for marketing emails. And I'm like, guys, we're violating something here. We need to. And so then it becomes a poor patient experience problem. So I could talk all day about friction.
The company that begins to solve it, we just said innovation doesn't have to be fancy, but I see friction points all over. I know Tony Maritata, who was watching a minute ago, he said he knows practices who send 20 pages of paperwork and will not let a new patient schedule if they don't fill it out and submit. I don't know if he's still watching, but Tony, how long is your wait list? And I'll just let him answer because I know the answer. And this is the right answer, which is backwards. And I'll let him answer. But why? Like you're gonna have to get those 20. Let's just pretend you have to get 20 pages of information. That's why my solution. Someone was like, "Well, Jimmy, what would you do to fix it?" There you are on the internet, just throwing out problems but no solution. And here was my answer. Tell me if I'm wrong. And I know this is going to be an oversimplification, but that's where you start. The answer is you put one person in charge of this. What's this? The biggest friction point. I don't know what it is. Is it front end friction, back end friction, somewhere in the middle? Let's just say it's front end. Might as well go along the timeline. Can't schedule. Got it. Your only job for how long? Until it's done.
Until it's fixed.
How much do I have to spend? Infinity dollars. Tony's wait list, 27 minutes long. He's like, where are you? Hey, do you have any, where are you right now? I'm on Route 12. Yeah. All right. So make the next right. Go by Steve's, bar and grill. Come on in. Because Tony understands what business he's in. He's in the immediacy business.
The immediacy business. I want to get in. One, let me schedule. Two, get me in. Right. I don't want to be scheduled for February.
Right. So you put one person in charge of solving the biggest problem. If you are sanding something, start on the biggest nub and sand that until it's not the biggest nub, and then go to the next biggest nub. It's like in golf. Golfers will get this. Who putts? Well, first of all, the guy, if you're all on the green, it's the person furthest away from the hole. Exactly. And then if you putt, and you love these words in golf, you're still away, which means you putted, but you're still the furthest away. It means you go again. You keep solving, you keep putting until that friction point, till that ball's in the hole. Then you go to the next furthest ball and you keep putting till that's in there. And that person has authority to make that decision, not a committee, right? You're given the tools, the training, the time, the authority, the people, and control over the process. Notice I haven't said one app or one meeting or one checkpoint, because you have to. And here's why. A lot of people love, Tony said, imagine if you walked in right now, you'd be doing therapy in 3 minutes. Tony understands what he's doing. Imagine Tony ran like Athletico. What that would do. He could wait list. No such thing. You walk in. Look, we have therapists. We'll figure it out. That's supposed to be our motto. We'll figure it out. You have to put a highly trustable person in this position because they're going to make big decisions. Allow them to make big decisions. Allow them to break.
Allow them, right?
Because if you're telling me the difference between, because everyone's rattling the cage, reimbursement's going down, APTA is not doing nothing. Okay, what are you doing about the biggest friction point in your business? Well, I posted about it 3 times on a Facebook group about how the APTA sucks. How'd that work out for you? Did you track how that worked out for you? No, but I got 38 likes. That's awesome vanity, good credibility. Did it solve your kids not going to college because no money problem? If the answer is no, the fuck are you doing? And I don't drop F-bombs often, but what the fuck are you doing? If you're saying this profession is whenever someone's like, oh, hey, I'm 19 years old thinking about becoming a PT, and you can't wait to dogpile on and take a dump on this profession. And you're like, I don't know how debt is here and reimbursement's here and our salaries are here. And you're not solving this. You're the dumbass. You are the dumbass because no one else has done it. So why do I have to do it? You just told me in 12 months, we're not in business unless we solve this. And you aren't acting as if you're not. So I asked you this pop quiz again. Let's see if you remember this. Andrea, what's the worst thing to do in a panic situation?
Panic.
What's the second worst thing to do in a panic situation? My dad asked me.
Not panic?
Nothing.
No? Nothing.
Nothing. So
right.
It's a panic situation.
Well, right.
So I'm going to panic. Nope. That's how you get tangled up in your seatbelt. If your car, my dad would throw me like ridiculous, stupid situations when I was 11. We were going around a corner once. There was like a lake, and he goes, I pass out. We drive into the lake. The car's sinking. What do you do? And I'm 11 going.
Good to hear other parents do this, by the way.
Do they? Oh, okay, good. Call the police. And it was like 1992. And he's like, on what phone? You're stuck in the car.
Right.
And what he wanted me to do is like beat the situation. I was like, okay. He's like, okay, number one, you're going to take your seatbelt off first. And I'm like, why? Because panic people can't get seatbelts off.
Yep.
And then he's like, these are automatic windows. I want you to roll them down. Why? Because in a second, the battery's going to short out and these windows won't go down. But let's say you can't. You have to wait till the car comes and actually fills up with water. So there's neutral. Like he's getting like, but what he's saying is like, don't panic, think.
Right.
So panic would be number one, not to do, but also people freeze. And I think people are freezing in 2025, 2026 in their business because they're saying the big, hairy, scary is reimbursement is this. And I can't hire anybody because these kids today don't want to work. That's not the biggest friction point. It's not.
You know what, wrong. Jimmy? They're doing. I think freeze is because it is the big, hard, scary thing. So instead, we're going do a TikTok. We should be on
yes.
And it's not to poke fun. It's it's just sort of getting into psychology of what putting myself in the founder's position.
Because motion creates emotion.
And motion creates emotion. It feels productive. Emotion. I can't solve this big thing. I don't think I can solve this big thing.
So I do nothing.
These are the things. Do this thing. Do this easy thing.
This is two marketing people telling you, well, number one, the name of the show is marketing doesn't work. It does. It just doesn't work when you do it shitty. Marketing also appears not to work when you don't solve the other problems. That's why you could look at this from a macro level and be like, well, marketing didn't work. It's like, but you have to wait 2 weeks, solve, and then fill out 20 different pages of paperwork. We got them all the way to the door. Like imagine you needed to show your birth certificate every time you walked into a bar. You're like, I don't carry that on me. Well, that's our policy.
Marketing doesn't solve for a crappy product or a crappy experience. I mean, that's one takeaway.
There it is. That is true. I have a second sponsor and I can't find it right now. Anyway, we'll do parting shots. So parting shot, your last chance for a mic drop moment. Oh, I even have a little video.
This is the parting shot. One last mic drop moment. No pressure, just your legacy on the line.
All right, no pressure. Parting shot brought to you by We Tried Everything Marketing. Perfect for healthcare founders who say things like, we ran ads once. We posted on LinkedIn last year. My personal favorite, marketing just doesn't work for healthcare. Oh yeah? Explain to me. Why then everything I looked up when I was in PT school and Googled, the answer was themayoclinic.com.
Exactly.
I was like, the Mayo Clinic, what are they? They are not mayonnaise flavored ice cream is what they are. Marketing, We Tried Everything Marketing, zero strategy, maximum confidence. Find them online at wetriederythingmarketing.com. All right, Andrea, your parting shot, what do you got?
Parting shot. We talked about a lot today, but I'm just going to go back to something I said 1 minute ago. Marketing doesn't solve for a crappy product or experience.
We can't. A different way to say that. You say it the how way. I'll say it the how way.
I love it.
You can't shine shit. Although they did prove on Mythbusters, you can in fact make shit glisten if you scrub it enough. But I'm going to tell you that you can't. You can't. And if you do, you're going to be pouring money, and that's the stupid analogy, buckets of money into a leaky bucket, and then confused why the bucket won't hold water. And then you'll say marketing doesn't work. We're back next Monday. If you're a founder between $3 and $35 million revenue, that's who Andrea works with as a fractional CMO. Find her on the LinkedIn. I make noise for practices that are already in the same spot, right? But I'm a little bit more all over the place. But in the end, this is your problem. And if you don't solve it, you're not going to be in the solving problem business very long. We'll see you next week.
That's it for this one, but we're just getting warmed up. Smash follow, send it to a friend, or crank up the next episode. Want to go deeper? Hit us at ptpintcast.com or find us on YouTube and socials at ptpintcast. And legally, none of this was advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. See, Keith, we read the script. Happy now?